Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So we are back looking at the 40 short stories that comprise the collection From a Certain Point of View, celebrating 40 years of Return of the Jedi. This time we are talking about The Light That Falls, which takes place on Dagobah during the events of Return of the Jedi, so more or less entirely during those events, though there are a couple little flashbacky things and that's fine. And this features an unlikely protagonist, particularly a dragon snake, the giant creature, the kind of giant creature that tried to make a meal out of R2-D2 and ultimately spat him out. It is not the same dragon snake that ate R2. It is a different one. And the story is particularly fascinating because it definitely focuses on the natural world of Dagobah. And from the dragon snake's perspective, things are not really going well on Dagobah this evening. There's an uneasy quiet that has fallen over the entire planet, as the dragon snake thinks. And yeah, of course, it has to do with the fact that Yoda is about to pass away, which he then does during the course of this story. And there are some reflections about the tree where Yoda sent Luke, knowing that it's a place that's strong with the dark side of the Force. The whole planet itself, of course, is just very strong in the Force, but what the dragon snake reflects upon is that perhaps Yoda, in his own capacity, the dragon snake has an awareness that Yoda may have been part of what kept the planet in balance at some level. And the dragon snake, being ecologically minded in some sense, is aware that balance is necessary for every ecosystem, and that Yoda's passing may have affected the balance of Force power on the planet. Not necessarily that the dragon snake is aware of the Force per se, but just the fact that there is a darkness, and that darkness may be able to hold greater sway over Dagobah now that Yoda has passed away. There's also some fun reflections by the dragon snake about how Luke was a nuisance, and the dragon snake had thought about eating him basically because he just treated the place like a playground and stomped around like a bunch of the youngling dragon snakes would. But the fact that Luke had a laser sword that could cut things in half made the dragon snake wary of Luke, and so he just left him be. And there's also very touching things too, like the dragon snake watching Yoda and thinking that there were at times moments of profound sadness in Yoda, and that it seemed like when he was watching younglings that maybe he hadn't seen younglings in quite a long time, and that's where the sadness was coming from. And of course we know that's kind of accurate in a way. Ultimately, this dragon snake, who is named Bright Eyes by Yoda because Yoda says that he has bright eyes and a curious nature basically, and this is apparently rare for a dragon snake to be named in any kind of fashion, so I guess we have a remarkable dragon snake telling this story. But one of the things that the dragon snake does is kind of evaluate whether things are predators or prey, and they have to live and die by those decisions and whatnot. So one of the startling conclusions that the dragon snake comes to is that perhaps the cave that plays strong in the dark side of the Force, maybe that cave is a predator in its own way, and maybe it was responsible in some fashion for snuffing out the light, snuffing out Yoda. Now, it's hard to say, of course, if that's true, but there's another element of the next story we're going to be talking about, which is also Dagobah focused, that may play into that too, and I'm looking forward to talking with you about that. But that's pretty much all the fun stuff to highlight about The Light That Falls, which is I guess this would be now the 13th story that we've covered here on the podcast from that 40th anniversary collection of short stories For a Certain Point of View for Return of the Jedi. And that is going to do it for this episode of the podcast. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyrighted by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.